Welcome back. If you're here, it means you're ready to take this journey to the next level. And trust me, things are about to get wild. Last time we kicked things off with a big wake-up call. The life you're living might not even be yours. We dug into Carl Jung's crazy ideas about masks, shadows, and that itch inside telling you there's more to who you are. But that was just the appetizer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the deep end. How do you actually find yourself? What's hiding in the corners of your mind that you've never dared to look at? We're talking secret tools, ancient blueprints in your soul, and the one mind-blowing truth that could flip everything you thought you knew about yourself upside down. This isn't just about scratching the surface anymore. This is about cracking open the core of who you really are. Ready to unlock some serious game changers? Let's jump in. But how do we begin? How do we uncover the unconscious forces that shape our lives? Jung believed that one of the most powerful ways to access the unconscious is through symbols, dreams, and introspection. He saw dreams as messages from the deeper self, revealing hidden truths about our psyche. He also emphasized the importance of creative expression. Art, writing, music, and other forms of self-exploration as ways of accessing and integrating the unconscious mind. But perhaps the most important step is simply this: awareness. The moment you begin to question your thoughts, your reactions, and your deeply held beliefs, you are already taking the first steps toward transformation. The moment you stop running from discomfort and start facing it with curiosity, you begin to reclaim your true self. Because here's the truth. Most people live their entire lives as strangers to themselves. They follow the paths laid out for them, never realizing that they have the power to choose something different. They suppress their true nature, never realizing that their greatest strength lies in embracing all that they are. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have the power to break free from the illusions that have held you back, to shed the layers of conditioning and fear that have kept you from experiencing life fully, to step into the fullness of who you are, unafraid and unapologetic. And in the next part, we are going to explore something even more profound: the hidden archetypes within you. These ancient patterns, buried deep in your psyche, hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential. If the journey to finding yourself were as simple as making a decision, everyone would already be living in complete alignment with their true nature. But as we've seen, the process is far more complex. It is not just about choosing who we want to be. It is about uncovering the forces that have shaped us, facing the parts of ourselves we have rejected, and integrating them into a whole, authentic identity. But here's a question. Why do we feel drawn to certain behaviors, desires, or fears? Why do we repeat the same mistakes or fall into the same patterns, even when we try to change? Carl Jung's answer was revolutionary. He believed that within every human being there exist universal patterns, deep-rooted psychological blueprints that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in ways we often do not fully understand. He called these patterns archetypes. Jung argued that archetypes are ancient, collective images stored in what he called the collective unconscious, a level of the psyche shared by all human beings, inherited from the experiences of our ancestors. These archetypes shape our personal identity, our relationships, and even the way we perceive the world. Think about the stories that have been told throughout history: the hero's journey, the wise mentor, the shadowy villain, the innocent child. These characters appear in myths, religions, literature, and even in our dreams. They are not just fictional. They represent psychological forces that exist within all of us. And whether we realize it or not, these archetypes are constantly at play in our lives. For example, consider the hero archetype. This is the part of you that longs for purpose, that feels called to something greater. It is the part of you that seeks to overcome obstacles, grow stronger, and achieve a higher version of yourself. But this archetype does not exist in isolation. It is always accompanied by the shadow. The shadow, as we discussed earlier, represents the repressed and hidden aspects of the self. It is the part of you that contains your fears, your weaknesses, and even your untapped potential. In myths, the hero must confront the shadow, often symbolized as a monster, an enemy, or a great challenge, before they can truly evolve. Now let's bring this into real life. Have you ever had a moment when you knew you needed to change, but something inside you resisted? A time when you had the opportunity to step into a greater version of yourself, but fear, doubt, or self-sabotage held you back. This is the battle between the hero and the shadow playing out within you. The mistake most people make is trying to suppress the shadow instead of understanding it. But Jung believed that true transformation happens when we integrate the shadow, not by rejecting it, but by learning from it. But archetypes go beyond just the hero and the shadow. There are many other forces within us, each with its own role in shaping our identity. One of the most powerful is the Anima and Animus archetype. Jung believed that within every man there exists a hidden feminine side, the Anima, and within every woman there exists a hidden masculine side, the Animus. These are not about gender in the physical sense, but about the balance of energies within us. The Anima represents intuition, emotion, creativity, and deep connection with the unconscious. The Animus represents logic, structure, discipline, and assertiveness. When these two forces are in balance, a person feels whole. But when they are out of balance, inner conflict arises. For example, a man who rejects his anima may struggle with expressing emotions, fearing vulnerability as a weakness. A woman who rejects her animus may struggle with asserting herself, feeling hesitant to take control of her own life. But when these energies are embraced rather than suppressed, they become a source of immense strength. And this leads us to one of the most important truths Jung discovered. To find yourself, you must embrace all parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the unknown. Individuation is not about becoming something different. It is about becoming whole. Throughout this journey, we have explored the hidden forces shaping your identity, the masks you wear, the shadow you suppress, and the archetypes influencing your thoughts and behaviors. But now we must confront the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of self. Most people go through life assuming that their identity is fixed, that they are a single, unchanging self that moves through time, shaped by memories and experiences. But Jung, along with many great philosophers and mystics, understood something radical. The self is not a static entity. It is fluid, ever-changing, and far greater than we have been led to believe. What if the version of you that you identify with right now is only a fragment of something much larger? What if the person you think you are is just one expression of a limitless consciousness that has been evolving for centuries, across lifetimes, through inherited wisdom and experience? Jung explored this idea through the concept of the self, not the small, ego-driven self that clings to labels and fears, but the true self, the totality of who you are beyond the illusions of identity. And this realization is both liberating and terrifying, because it means that everything you have believed yourself to be All the fears, the limitations, the stories you tell yourself is not the full truth. It is merely a construct, a temporary framework built by the mind. And here's the most powerful truth of all. You are not just a single, isolated being moving through life. You are a vast, interconnected field of consciousness, carrying within you the wisdom of generations, the depth of the unconscious, and the potential for transformation that is beyond imagination. But if this is true, then why do we feel so limited? Why do we experience suffering, doubt, and fear? The answer lies in the ego. The ego is not the enemy. It is simply the part of the mind that creates a sense of separation. It is the voice in your head that says, "This is who I am, and this is who I am not." It builds walls, defines borders, and keeps you tethered to familiar patterns. And while the ego serves a purpose, it is also the greatest obstacle to self-discovery, because in truth, you are not limited to a single identity. You are a being in constant evolution, and the moment you stop clinging to the idea of who you think you are, you unlock infinite possibilities. But how do you do this? How do you step beyond the illusion of self and into the fullness of your existence? Jung offered a path, one that requires courage, deep introspection, and a willingness to surrender everything you thought you knew about yourself. First, embrace the unknown. Most people fear the unknown because it represents uncertainty, but the unknown is where growth happens. It is where transformation occurs. When you stop resisting the mysteries within you and instead lean into them with curiosity, you begin to see the world and yourself with new eyes. Second, release attachment to labels. You are not just your name. You are not just your job, your past, or your personality. You are something far beyond definition. When you let go of rigid identities, you create space for something greater to emerge. Third, listen to the unconscious. Your dreams, your instincts, your deep intuitions. They are not random. They are messages from the self, guiding you toward wholeness. The more you tune in, the more you will begin to recognize patterns, synchronicities, and signs that lead you toward your true path. And finally, surrender to the process. Finding yourself is not a destination. It is not something you achieve and then forget about. It is an ongoing journey, an unfolding of deeper and deeper layers of truth. Here's the bombshell that ties it all together. You were never lost. Not really. That true self you've been chasing? It's been right there inside you this whole time, just waiting for you to wake up and see it. Now it's decision time. Are you going to keep drifting, stuck as a shadow of who you could be, tangled in old fears and fake stories? Or are you ready to step up, dive into the unknown, and claim the infinite, unstoppable version of yourself that's been screaming to break free? Because here's the deal. Life doesn't kick off for real until you find you. And guess what? You've just been handed the map. Thanks for riding this wave with me. Let's make it count.